The Galactic Cadet Exchange Program was supposed to be a symbol of unity. 17 species, one shared campus, 1,000 young soldiers learning to trust each other across the stars. Cadet Alara Voss had believed in that dream once. She believed in it a little less now, standing in the corridor of Dormitory Block 7, watching 4 Cathari cubs surround 2 terrified Nelvani cadets who couldn't have been older than 16 by human reckoning. The Cathari were predator species. Feline, 8 feet tall at full maturity, though these cubs were only 6. Their claws were retractable, but they hadn't retracted them. Their teeth were showing. And they were laughing, that deep, rolling purr growl that Alara had learned in 3 months on this campus meant something was about to get hurt. Back of the line, the largest cub, Riker, they called him, son of some Cathari admiral, was saying, "Prakines don't share facilities with Apex Bloods. That's just the natural order." The 2 Nelvani cadets, insectoid, fragile-limbed, barely reaching Riker's chest, pressed against the wall. Their antennae trembled. Alara set down her training bag. Behind her, something made a sound. Low, guttural. A sound like a garbage disposal gargling gravel. That was Chunk. Chunk was a honey badger. Specifically, Malivera capensis, Earth's most legendarily indifferent killing machine, currently wearing a regulation cadet support animal vest that said emotional support in 6 galactic languages. Chunk weighed 11 kilograms. Chunk had, last Tuesday, bitten through a titanium alloy training dummy's leg because it had been blocking his food bowl. Chunk did not care about the Cathari. Chunk did not care about the natural order. Chunk cared about Alara, about food, and about the deeply personal offense of loud noises in hallways he was trying to nap in. "Hey," Alara said. Riker turned slowly. He had the particular confidence of someone who had never, in his entire life, been told no by anything smaller than him. He looked at Alara, 5'6", human, cadet gray uniform, brown hair in a regulation braid, and then down at the small furry creature beside her, and then back up. "Walk away, soft skin," he said pleasantly. "This doesn't involve your kind. It involves cadets," Alara said. "Which is my kind?" Riker's tail flicked. "The universal Cathari signal for I am about to stop being amused." "Humans," he said, to his companions, who found this hilarious. "They always forget what they are. Soft, slow, no claws, no venom, no natural armor. You evolved on a garden world." "We did," Alara agreed. She reached down and unclipped Chunk's vest leash. So did he. There was a species description of the honey badger in the Galactic Xenobiology database. It had been entered by a Vorkai xenobiologist who had spent 8 months studying Earth fauna before filing the following report. Subject exhibits no measurable fear response. Territorial aggression does not scale with threat size. Has been documented pursuing, attacking, and consuming organisms 30 times its body mass. Immune to a remarkable spectrum of venoms. Skin demonstrates unusual resistance to lacerations. When injured, subject recovers, orients, and re-engages. We recommend reclassifying Earth's threat index from Class 2, Garden World, Low Concern, to at minimum Class 6, Active Hazard. We also recommend that whoever authorized the Human Honey Badger Bonding Program be questioned extensively. Riker had not read this report. This was about to matter. Chunk looked at the Cathari cubs. Chunk looked at Alara. Alara gave him a very small nod. Chunk made a decision. What happened next was, and Alara would later say this in her official report, completely sincerely, not her fault. Chunk moved like a small, furry missile. He covered the distance between himself and the nearest Cathari cub in approximately 1 second, lashed onto the cub's ankle with a bite force that the medical report would later describe as clinically significant, and began to do what honey badgers do when they have decided something is their enemy. He refused to stop. The cub screamed. The scream was very loud. It echoed in the corridor in a way that brought 3 other cadets to their dormitory doors. Riker lunged. Alara was already moving. She had grown up in rural Montana. She had wrestled her older brothers for fun. She had spent 3 months in a Cathari-adapted training program that was designed for species with 4 times her muscle density, which meant she had spent 3 months being crushed and thrown and learning exactly where the gaps in Cathari body mechanics were. She also had, courtesy of her grandmother, a very firm grip. She caught Riker's descending arm, the one with the unsheathed claws, at the wrist, redirected, and used his own momentum to put him into the corridor wall face first. The impact was not gentle. The wall dented slightly. Riker was too stunned to immediately respond. "Stay," Alara said, the same word she used with Chunk, with the same tone. Then she turned back to the situation. The situation was, Chunk had now caused 2 of the 4 Cathari cubs to retreat down the corridor, yowling in a manner that no predator species ever wanted to admit they were capable of. The 3rd cub was trying to shake Chunk loose. Chunk could not be shaken loose. Chunk had, evolutionarily speaking, never developed the concept of letting go. "Chunk," Alara said. "Enough." Chunk let go. He trotted back to her, sat down, and sneezed with great dignity. The corridor was very quiet. Riker peeled himself off the wall. There was a mark on his cheek, not a wound. Cathari skin was tough, but a mark. Something that had never been there before. He stared at Alara with an expression she'd never seen on a Cathari face. Genuine confusion. "You're soft," he said. Like it didn't make sense. Like the universe had violated a contract. "Yep," Alara said. She was breathing hard, but keeping it even. "So's the honey badger. Very cuddly. Super sweet. Zero survival instinct." She looked down at Chunk, who was licking his paw. "We're a garden world, Riker. Everything on a garden world learned to survive anyway. That's what a garden world means." She looked at the 2 Nelvani cadets, who were still against the wall, antennae fully flattened, staring. "You okay?" she asked. The taller one. She'd seen them in xenolinguistics class. Their name was something like SIV, managed a small, stunned nod. "Good." She picked up her training bag. She clipped Chunk's leash back on. "Dormitory Block 7. Section C has a shared common room on the east end. It's usually empty evenings. You're welcome to use it." She walked past Riker. Chunk walked with her, tail high, steps bouncy, deeply pleased with himself. She was 2 corridors away when she heard footsteps behind her. "Cadet Voss." She turned. It was Riker. Alone this time. His companions had scattered. He looked different. The swagger was still there, but something underneath it had shifted, like a thing that had always been the foundation, discovering that the ground went deeper than it knew. "What species," he said slowly, "produces something like that?" He gestured down the corridor, toward where Chunk had last been, "and calls it soft." Alara considered the question. "Ours," she said. "We've got a whole planet of them. Different shapes, different sizes, but the same general philosophy." She tilted her head. "Turns out, when you don't start at the top of the food chain, you get creative." A long silence. "I owe those cadets an apology," Riker said. It clearly cost him something to say it. His jaw was tight. "Yeah," Alara said. "You do." Another silence. "Your animal," he said. It felt no fear. "Nope." "Why?" Alara looked down at Chunk, who looked back up at her with small, ancient, utterly unconcerned eyes. "I used to ask that too," she said. "Best I can figure?" He never learned he was supposed to. She turned and walked away. Behind her, she heard Riker stand in the corridor for a long moment. Then, quietly, she heard him turn around and walk back the way he'd come. The incident report was filed. The disciplinary board convened. The Cathari ambassador sent a formal communication that was, depending on translation, either a complaint or an apology. The Nelvani cadets started showing up to the East Common Room on Tuesday evenings. Chunk received a formal citation for unauthorized engagement with fellow cadets, which Alara framed and put on her wall. And somewhere in the Galactic Xenobiology database, a new note was appended to the honey badger entry, written by an anonymous contributor. Update. Subject has been observed operating in coordination with human cadet. Threat assessment has been revised. Recommend all personnel treat the combination of 1. Human and 2. Honey badger as equivalent to a Class 9 hazard until further research is conducted. For reference, Class 9 is the category currently occupied by a dreadnought. Do not approach. Do not provoke. And for the love of all stars, do not block the food bowl.